So I've started my glue up. I've rolled glue onto all of my standard thickness veneers, so you can see it's throwing a hissy fit. And then part of the reason why I've made this mold so wide is that the extra width will help me pull these laminations down tight to the mold without any wrinkles interfering on the surface. So I'm going to position these guys so that they're quite close together and have sort of like maximum space from the edge of the mold. And the reason why I'm taping them down is because once these guys go into the bag, they can be quite hard to control. They'll start swiveling around and being annoying. So trying to give myself an edge wherever I can. Okay, and I've already done my dry clamp. I figured you guys had had enough of me talking and you know how to do a dry clamp. But basically first I assessed to make sure that the mold was going to survive the vacuum pressure, and then I assessed to make sure that the laminates came down nicely on the mold. So 2 separate dry clamps, a little bit time consuming. But if stuff goes horribly wrong, you'll be glad that you did it. Next, I'm gonna put this into the bag. I'm gonna scooch it pretty far in because the further in it is, the more elasticity of the bag that I can take advantage of. I'm gonna just do any final adjustments, trying to keep these pieces parallel to the sides of the mold. I do have extra dough on both sides of my laminate, so it's not the end of the world if they get out of parallel. And you'll notice I have a lot more air in the bag now than I did when I tested the platen, so it's going to take that much longer for the bag to apply clamping pressure to my laminates. I'm putting on the C closure now. Now I have my step stool ready, and I'm going to use this piece of ash with rounded edges to act as an additional clamp to hold the pieces down as the vacuum pulls them down. Normally that wouldn't be necessary, but because I'm doing 2 pieces at once, I need a little bit more distributed clamping pressure. Vacuum. I can check out my laminations, make sure that they're all evenly down on the mold. And in case you're wondering, it is very traditional to climb up on the table and use your knees as an extra clamp. Just don't let Tom see you do it. And then just make sure to keep any sharp objects away from the bag. So those look good. Came down pretty parallel. If I wanted to make any minute adjustments, what I could do was partially open the corner of the bag, let in a little pocket of air, poke this piece around. But you'll quickly see as you do your own glue ups that adjusting the piece while it's inside the bag can be really difficult because you're basically pulling on the outside of the slippery vinyl. So much better to do several dry clamps and sort of anticipate all the things that will go wrong, and then you won't have as many problems with your glue up. It came down really nicely. I'm actually very happy with it. Because I used wood glue, and wood glue cures by oxidizing with the air, and there's no air inside this vacuum, or rather there's very little air, I'm going to leave it in as long as I'm able to. So at least 2 hours. If I have the opportunity to leave it in overnight, I'll leave it in overnight. Again, the most reliable way to assess if you have any wet glue still remaining in your laminates is to open up the bag, touch your laminates, and see if they're cool to the touch. For me, I'm not really in a huge hurry on these pieces, so I'll probably leave them overnight. And because I have a double wide mold and I made 2 pieces at once, I should have all of my parts within 3 days. Okay, so don't forget to potentially have some cauls on hand with rounded edges. You don't want to have any sharp edges digging into the bag. Don't forget to have a partner to glue up with, so that way you don't potentially have to climb onto the table. And make sure to do as many dry clamps as needed. Don't get too excited and run right into it without a dry clamp. And then take care of the bags. Make sure nothing as sharp is nearby. If you have a really oozy, gluey glue up, make sure to throw a sheet of plastic on the inside of the bag to protect the bag surface.